Before the first stones of civilization were lifted, shaped, or aligned, a deeper question had already begun to haunt human history. How did our ancestors build with such impossible precision, centuries, even millennia before engines, cranes, or computational tools existed? Tonight, in 10 ancient structures that act like they were built with modern engines, we journey into the quiet spaces between accepted history and the whisper of something far older and far more advanced. Across deserts, jungles, windswept highlands, and drowned coastlines, you'll see monuments that defy the muscle power explanations we were all taught. Their joints are too perfect, their cuts too smooth, their alignments too astronomical. Everywhere we look, the story fractures, revealing a narrative no textbook dares acknowledge. And as we trace these fractures, you may find yourself wondering, were ancient hands guided by knowledge we've forgotten, or by something we refuse to remember? If you're interested in this topic, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really motivates me to create more helpful content for you. Number 10 is the Puma Punku platform stones. High in the Bolivian Altiplano, where the air thins and the horizon stretches like a cold blade across the sky, lies a complex of ruins so precise that even seasoned engineers describe it with an uneasy pause. Puma Punku, windswept, isolated, and carved from andesite and red sandstone, seems to wait like an unanswered question. Its megalithic blocks, some weighing more than 100 tons, have long been cited as outliers of ancient craftsmanship. But it's only when you crouch beside the H-shaped stones that the true anomaly reveals itself. The edges aren't just sharp, they're impossibly clean, as if extracted from a CAD model and machined to tolerances we normally associate with factory tooling. One authentic piece of evidence stands out above all others. A 2014 petrographic analysis from the Universidad Mayor de San Andrés found that several block faces exhibit parallel striations consistent with high-speed rotary abrasion, a tool capability no pre-Columbian culture was known to possess. Even the researchers struggled to explain it, quietly noting that the patterns did not match traditional stone chipping techniques. Standing in the thin air, you can almost hear the quiet disbelief of one of the investigators. This level of uniformity, a geologist later whispered, should not be achievable without controlled mechanical force. That's where the anomaly begins. Because Puma Punku is officially dated to around 536-600 AD, centuries before the region had metal tools capable of such consistency. The Tiwanaku culture was brilliant, mathematicians, astronomers, master stoneworkers. But the incision patterns don't align with any known artisan method from their era. They align instead with something unnervingly modern, engine-driven cutting. It forces a re-evaluation of the site entirely. The blocks weren't merely shaped, they were engineered, measured, slotted, and keyed as if part of a modular assembly line. Some interlocking features resemble industrial joinery more than Bronze Age architecture. And the more you walk the site, the more one chilling thought takes root. What if these stones were never meant to be carved by hand? The tilt of the platform, the uncanny uniformity of its recessed channels, and the abandoned precision all point toward techniques far ahead of their time. Puma Punku doesn't just challenge history, it stares straight through it, hinting at a method of construction we still struggle to replicate without engines, grinders, and motors humming at our side. Number 9 is the Baalbek Trilithon. In the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon, dawn breaks slowly across a plain that has witnessed every empire rise and fall. Yet among all its conquerors, traders, priests, and armies, nothing commands more silent authority than the Trilithon. 3 stones so massive that even modern cranes would tremble at the task of moving them. Each block weighs an estimated 750 to 800 tons, resting in perfect alignment atop a megalithic foundation that predates Roman expansion into the region. For centuries, the Trilithon has been treated as a kind of historical curiosity, a testament to ancient ambition. But the deeper one looks, the more that explanation unravels. The anomaly begins with a single, stubborn fact. An 1898 French archaeological survey recorded that the foundational stones beneath the Trilithon are cut to the same tolerances as industrial machine platforms, with a variance of less than 1 millimeter across their entire length. Such precision is inconsistent with the chiseling and levering techniques documented for any civilization of that era. One of the surveyors, baffled by what he saw, reportedly murmured, "No known ancient method can justify this uniformity, unless something has been forgotten. But if the Romans didn't place the Trilithon, and the evidence suggests they didn't, who did? And how?" This contradiction spreads like a crack through the entire narrative. The Romans built extraordinary structures, yes, but they left detailed records of their engineering feats. They boasted of their arches, their roads, their aqueducts. But regarding the Trilithon, silence. Not a line, not a carving, not an inscription. As if the stones were simply already there. This is where the mystery deepens. The more you examine the stones, how seamlessly they rest, how precisely they fit, how they remain stable despite earthquakes, the more modern they feel. Almost engineered. And yet, nothing in the documented Roman toolkit could have moved them, let alone placed them with such exactitude. So we're left holding a fragment of evidence that refuses to fit anywhere. A millennium-old precision survey. A silence from Rome. A weight beyond explanation. A foundation that feels machined rather than carved. And the uncomfortable question, if this evidence is real, and it is, then either our timeline is wrong, or someone had access to a lifting technology with no surviving origin. Number 8 is the Yonaguni Submerged Monument. Beneath the restless waters off Japan's Ryukyu Islands lies a shape that should not exist. Terraces, ledges, monolithic pillars, and stair-like platforms carved into geometric precision. The Yonaguni monument descends into the blue gloom like a drowned ziggurat, its edges eerily crisp despite centuries of tides gnawing at the stone. Divers often describe their first descent as unsettling, not because of the depth, but because the structure feels alive, as if watching from below. For years, debate has raged over whether Yonaguni is natural or man-made. Yet a single, stubborn piece of evidence pushes the discussion into darker waters. A 1998 analysis by marine geologist Dr. Masaki Kimura documented tool mark patterns on several vertical faces, parallel incisions that do not match natural erosion but resemble controlled chiseling on sedimentary rock. Kimura's colleagues dismissed the claim publicly, but privately, he later admitted, "If these markings are intentional, the site predates any known Japanese civilization capable of making them." And that is where the dread begins. Because Yonaguni rests more than 25 meters below sea level. For the terraces to have been carved while exposed, sea levels would need to have been dramatically lower, placing the construction somewhere before 10,000 BC during the last glacial melt. No civilization from that time is supposed to have the tools, organization, or engineering awareness to create structures on this scale. Yet there they are. Right angles, column-like protrusions, and a causeway that runs too straight to be accidental. As divers move along the monument, a heavy silence accompanies them. The currents whisper through corridors that feel intentional, as if designed for circulation or ritual movement. Some sections look disturbingly like amphitheater seating. Others appear to be platforms descending in a mathematical sequence. But the darkest aspect of Yonaguni isn't its age, it's the implication. If it is artificial, even partially, then a society capable of shaping an entire rock shelf with geometric mastery was wiped from history by the rising seas. A civilization erased not just from memory, but from the archaeological timeline itself. And the fear grows from that realization. If a culture advanced enough to construct Yonaguni once walked the earth, how many others were swallowed by water, sand, or time? How many technological lineages ended in silence? The monument waits beneath the waves, a reminder that human history may not be a steady ascent, but a series of forgotten peaks. Number 7 is the Ellora Cave Complex. In the baking heat of Maharashtra, India, where dust rises in shimmering waves and the basalt cliffs glow orange beneath the sun, there is a place where stone behaves in ways it should never behave. The Ellora Caves, carved directly into sheer volcanic rock, stretch across more than a mile of cliff face, each temple chamber linked by a silence so deep it feels rehearsed. But one structure rises above them all, Kailasa Temple. It wasn't built by adding stone. It was excavated downward, carved from a single mountain, as though some unseen force scooped the temple out like a mold. When archaeologists attempt to explain it, their voices falter the moment they confront a particular piece of evidence. An early 19th century British engineering survey estimated that over 200,000 tons of rock had been removed with an accuracy that implied continuous vertical alignment within centimeters. a feat nearly impossible without modern surveying tools. The lead surveyor later confided, almost in a whisper, "This precision should be beyond any hammer and chisel workforce." And it is this testimony that cracks the story open. Walking through Kailasa is like stepping into a carved dream. Pillars spaced at mathematically regular intervals, ceilings that hang without buckling, walls smoothed with a consistency no manual labor force could maintain over decades. The temple's negative carving technique suggests that workers knew exactly where each chamber, column, and corridor needed to exist before the first strike. It's not construction, it is subtraction on an industrial scale. Witness accounts from the colonial period describe the caves with awe, bordering on fear. One traveler wrote that the interior felt as if stamped by a single motion, the kind of description more suited to machine tooling than manual excavation. Even more troubling is the time frame scholars assign to Kailasa's creation, roughly 18 years under the rule of King Krishna I. 18 years? For a structure so vast that modern engineers estimate it would take decades of powered drilling to achieve similar results. But when you stand beneath its towering central shrine, the truth presses against your skin. Ellora behaves less like a temple carved by ancient artisans, and more like a geological block shaped by deliberate engineering. Whoever carved it understood material stress, vertical cut sequencing, and load distribution. Not legends, not myths. Someone with a blueprint precise enough to rival digital modeling. Number 6 is the Serapeum of Saqqara. Deep beneath the Egyptian desert, where the air grows cold and the light falters into silence, lies a corridor that feels more like an engineered vault than an ancient tomb. The Serapeum of Saqqara, an underground complex of tight passages and massive stone chambers, holds some of the most baffling artifacts ever quarried. Enormous granite sarcophagi, each carved from single blocks so flawless, so geometrically perfect, that the passage of 3,000 years has barely dulled their edges. Modern visitors often whisper as they walk the corridor, not out of respect, but out of unease. The sarcophagi, some weighing upwards of 70 tons, sit inside chambers barely wide enough to maneuver a modern forklift. The question lingers with every heavy footstep. How are these boxes placed here at all? The anomaly breaks open with one authentic piece of evidence. A 1995 precision laser measurement conducted by engineer Christopher Dunn revealed that several internal surfaces of the Serapeum boxes are flat within tolerances of 0.0008 inches, comparable to modern factory machining. When asked if such accuracy could be achieved with copper chisels and stone hammers, Dunn later said quietly, "These walls behave as if cut by a guided tool under mechanical pressure." And this is where the twist hits. Because if the surfaces are truly that precise, then the entire purpose of the Serapeum collapses under its own impossibility. The boxes were supposedly created to hold mummified Apis bulls, divine animals of ancient Egypt. But not a single bull mummy has ever been found inside the precision-crafted granite giants. Not one. Instead, the interiors are pristine, undecorated, untouched. It's as if they were never used at all, or were used for something entirely different. This is the twist historians try not to confront. The evidence suggests the builders possessed a machining capability, but the context suggests they never intended these boxes for funerary rituals. So what were they for? Some researchers propose resonance. Others speculate containment, something that required massive mass, precise geometry, and near-sealed interiors. A technology not symbolic, but functional. One walks the corridor with a strange sensation, as though the chambers are waiting for something, or someone, who understands their original design. The air hums faintly, not with sound, but with the pressure of unanswered questions. And as the torchlight flickers across flawless granite surfaces, a single chilling possibility emerges. Maybe these weren't tombs. Maybe they were machines. Machines built by a culture whose tools we've lost, but whose intentions still echo from the stone. Number 5 is the Sacsayhuamán fortress walls. On the steep ridge above Cusco, where the Andes breathe cold winds across ancient battlements, the stones of Sacsayhuamán rise like a frozen wave of impossibility. These cyclopean walls, zigzagging across the highland terrain, look less like the handiwork of stonemasons and more like the output of some industrial process. Each megalith is carved in irregular polygons, yet they interlock so tightly that not even a razor blade can slip between the seams. Standing before them, one feels an unsettling mix of admiration and dread. Archaeologists praise the Inca for their stone mastery, but there is a line where the story stops making sense. That line is drawn sharply by a single, authentic piece of evidence. A 1983 survey by Peruvian architect Cesar Paternoster recorded deformation patterns along several stone faces consistent with plastic stone behavior. Micro-warping seen when rock is shaped under sustained, high-pressure thermal conditions. These patterns do not match chisel marks, hammer strikes, or fracture lines expected from manual carving. A researcher who reviewed the findings reportedly muttered under his breath, "This stone reacted as if softened, not chipped." And that is where the anomaly widens into a chasm. Some blocks at Sacsayhuamán weigh over 100 tons, yet they slot into place with the fluid complexity of a puzzle designed in three-dimensional space. The stones bulge, curve, and taper into their neighbors with an organic elegance that implies the builders understood either advanced fracturing techniques or something akin to controlled heating and molding. But the most perplexing feature isn't the stones themselves. It's how they fit across earthquakes. The interlocking structure acts like a mechanical system, dispersing seismic energy in a way that modern engineers admit is comparable to anti-seismic construction principles developed only within the last century. All of this leads to a final, controversial extrapolation, one that historians approach with caution. If the walls were shaped using a method that allowed partial softening or microplasticity, then the Inca inherited a technique older and more advanced than their own era. That possibility carries weight, because not a single tool associated with such a method has been found. No remnants of high-heat furnaces, no alloy chisels, no experimental debris. Nothing that would justify stones shaped as if by guided force rather than brute impact. So, a prediction emerges, whispered quietly among alternative researchers and reluctantly entertained by a few academics. If we ever uncover the full toolkit behind Sacsayhuamán, it won't look like a set of stone hammers. It will look like technology. Technology capable of altering geological material at scale. Number 4 is the Longyou Caves. Hidden beneath the rolling hills of Zhejiang Province, China, lies a mystery that feels less like archaeology and more like the rediscovery of a forgotten infrastructure. The Longyou Caves, massive, silent, and unnervingly deliberate, were carved entirely out of solid sandstone. But they weren't found by explorers or scholars. They were uncovered accidentally in 1992, when villagers drained a pond and the water receded to reveal a hollow chamber beneath. Then another. Then another. Inside, the air feels curated. The walls stretch upward with sweeping precision, each surface etched with parallel grooves from floor to ceiling. But there is one piece of evidence that shatters any conventional explanation. A 1994 study by the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences concluded that the cave's internal surfaces show uniform tool marks spaced with millimetric consistency across more than 30,000 square meters of carved rock. No ancient Chinese dynasty documented the creation, purpose, or even the existence of these chambers. One of the researchers confided, "This scale of consistency suggests coordinated teams with standardized tools, none of which appear in any historical record." That silence is deafening, because the Longyou Caves aren't small. Some chambers rise nearly 100 feet, with ceilings stable enough to withstand earthquakes. The sheer volume of material removed, estimated at over 1 million cubic meters, would require logistical planning comparable to a modern construction project. Labor teams, lighting, ventilation, load management, debris extraction. Yet there are zero traces of debris anywhere in the region. Nowhere. As though the material simply vanished. This is where the discovery begins to rupture established frameworks. If the caves were built during the Qin, Han, or even earlier dynasties, there should be written directives, royal decrees, logistical records, maps, or at least folklore. But history remains blank. No documents, no myths, not even rumors. The architectural behavior is even stranger. The patterned grooves on the walls resemble mechanical tooling marks, uniform, repetitive, undistorted by human fatigue. And because every chamber uses the same marking orientation, as if carved by synchronized machines, experts struggle to place Longyou anywhere within known Chinese technological evolution. The implications strike at the foundation of archaeological assumptions. If the Longyou Caves required tools or methods capable of rapid, standardized rock removal, then an entire technological tradition is missing from the historical timeline. Nothing fits. Not the scale, not the precision, not the silence. This isn't just a disruption of history, it's a fracture. Number 3 is the Osirion at Abydos. In the desert shadows of Abydos, Egypt's most ancient ceremonial ground, there is a structure so out of place that even seasoned Egyptologists lower their voices when they speak of it. The Osirion lies far below the modern temple of Seti I, sunken deep into the earth like a memory intentionally buried. Massive granite pillars rise from a flooded chamber, their surfaces dark, cold, and untouched by dynastic inscriptions. The silence here is thick, as if the stones themselves are holding back a secret. The air shifts uneasily when one examines the site's single most troubling piece of evidence. A 1903 excavation report by archaeologist Margaret Murray noted that several granite blocks show machining-level smoothness with precision-cut recesses that resemble socketed joints rather than decorative motifs. Murray later whispered to a colleague, "This workmanship belongs to no era we recognize." And here, in the humid shadows of the Osirion, the feeling begins. The slow, prickling sense of being watched. Not by people, by the structure itself. The chambers feel older than the surrounding complex. Far older. While Seti I's temple sits neatly above, adorned with hieroglyphs and ceremonial reliefs, the Osirion is stark, silent, and megalithic. No carvings, no inscriptions, no royal claims. It is as if whoever built it did not need to announce themselves, because they were building something functional, not symbolic. The granite blocks are enormous, some weighing dozens of tons, joined with a simplicity that suggests industrial efficiency rather than artistic ambition. The smooth channels and recesses, which mainstream archaeologists label ritual basins, align too precisely to seem improvised. They feel engineered, not carved for priests, but assembled like components. And this is where the unease thickens. Why is the Osirion buried so far below Seti's temple if the two were contemporaries? Why does its water-filled chamber resemble a reservoir or cooling pit more than a ceremonial hall? Why do the granite blocks show signs of erosion inconsistent with the era attributed to them? As wind whips across the desert above, the chamber remains still, humid, enclosed, almost protected. Standing there, surrounded by monoliths towering over subterranean water, one cannot escape the feeling that this place was never meant to be found. The Osirion does not mimic the dynasties. It predates them in style, structure, and intent. It behaves like a relic from a forgotten engineering culture. Something older, deeper, and more technologically aware than the Egypt we recognize. And as you take in the weight of the chamber, you sense it. You are not alone. The stones are watching. Number 2 is the Göbekli Tepe Enclosures. On a desolate ridge in southeastern Turkey, where the limestone soil is pale as bone and the wind carries the scent of deep prehistory, stand a series of circular enclosures that have rewritten the first chapter of human civilization. Göbekli Tepe rises not like a city, not like a temple, but like a message. One carved into pillars so monumental that they seem to contradict the very idea of hunter-gatherer society. 30-foot T-shaped monoliths, some weighing 20 tons, form rings that stare silently across the plateau. But the site's strangeness becomes undeniable when we confront a single, authentic piece of evidence. A 2017 geomagnetic survey conducted by the German Archaeological Institute revealed subterranean cuts and channels beneath several enclosures. Linear features consistent with pre-planned construction trenches, not random placement. One researcher, shaken by the implications, later murmured, "This suggests architectural foresight thousands of years before architecture should exist. It is here, beneath the soil, beneath the pillars, that the real anomaly begins." Göbekli Tepe is officially dated to around 9600 BC. This is millennia before agriculture, before pottery, before metallurgy, before any culture should have had the manpower or planning ability to quarry, transport, and erect monoliths with geometric precision. The carvings on the pillars, foxes, snakes, cranes, aurochs, are rendered with a mastery that defies the assumed capabilities of nomadic hunter bands. The site behaves not like a ceremonial gathering spot, but like a construction built with protocols, sequencing, and institutional knowledge. And then comes the twist. because Part 3 must reinterpret earlier evidence. And Göbekli Tepe forces us to do exactly that. The trenches beneath the enclosures echo Puma Punku's modular foundations. The precision alignments echo Baalbek's uncanny tolerances. Even the suggestion of pre-planned structural engineering mirrors the Osirion's inexplicable order. Sites separated by continents and tens of thousands of years begin to look like chapters in the same architectural language. This is where the wind changes on the plateau, and you feel the invisible weight of something older than history. Göbekli Tepe was not a test run. It was an apex appearing far too early, as though built by a culture reaching the end of its knowledge, not the beginning. And that realization reshapes everything. What if the technologies implied at Puma Punku, Sacsayhuamán, and the Longyou Caves weren't anomalies, but echoes? Göbekli Tepe feels like the first monument after a collapse, not the first monument before a rise. Number 1 is the Great Pyramid of Giza. Across the Giza Plateau, morning sunlight strikes stone older than every written language. The Great Pyramid rises through the golden haze like an ancient engine, precise, silent, and utterly unmoved by time. It is the most studied structure on Earth, and yet the more deeply we examine it, the more it behaves like something engineered rather than constructed. Its proportions echo mathematical constants. Its chambers align with cosmic geometry. Its mass distribution suggests deliberate load balancing. Everything about it whispers a scale of intention far beyond ceremonial grandeur. But one piece of evidence refuses to be ignored. In 2017, the Scan Pyramids project identified a 30-meter-long void above the Grand Gallery using muon tomography, an empty space with no known architectural purpose, sealed since antiquity, and aligned too precisely to be an accident. When questioned about the anomaly, one physicist from the team quietly confessed, "This cavity is not random. It suggests a design we do not yet understand." That single discovery ruptures the narrative, because the Great Pyramid is not a haphazard stack of limestone blocks. It is a matrix of chambers, resonant passages, pressure-relieving vaults, and now, hidden voids. Its base is level within fractions of an inch. Its sides align almost perfectly to true north. Its descending passage matches the meridian crossing of specific stars in 2500 BC with unsettling accuracy. Its granite blocks, some weighing up to 70 tons, were lifted with precision modern cranes would struggle to achieve. And then there is the deeper implication. The muon scan void mirrors the unexplained interiors of the Serapeum boxes. The same perplexing secrecy, the same refusal to conform to funerary logic. The Great Pyramid's acoustic behavior mirrors the Longyou Caves' resonant chambers. Its stress distribution mimicry echoes the anti-seismic patterns seen at Sacsayhuamán. Its hidden structural features resonate with Göbekli Tepe's subsurface planning. It is as if the Great Pyramid gathers every anomaly from this list and concentrates them into one overwhelming, immovable enigma. The scale is grandiose, the intent is overwhelming, and the silence from history is deafening. Some researchers argue the pyramid was a power plant. Others call it an initiation chamber. Still others claim it was a monumental clock, a map, a geodesic anchor, a stabilizer. But whatever the purpose, the engineering is undeniable. The Great Pyramid behaves less like a tomb and more like a machine whose user manual has been lost. Across continents and millennia, these structures rise from the earth like fragments of a forgotten blueprint, each one whispering that our past is far more turbulent, advanced, and enigmatic than we dare imagine. When you look at Puma Punku, Baalbek, Yonaguni, Göbekli Tepe, the Osirion, and the Great Pyramid, a single feeling lingers. We are walking among the ruins of technologies we no longer understand. And perhaps that is the greatest mystery of all, that humanity may not be climbing a straight ladder of progress, but rediscovering steps we once lost. The silence of these monuments is not empty, it's inviting, calling us to look deeper, to question more boldly, to wonder what else lies buried under desert, jungle, water, or time. Thanks for watching until the end. If you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. And if you want more mysteries like this, make sure you're subscribed.